Have you ever found yourself on the couch wrapped up in your coziest blanket, your dog nestled right next to you, but a familiar voice in the back of your head is basically telling you, I should get up, I should do the dishes, I should, and then you insert whatever items are on your to-do list. But your body just aches and the thought of moving makes you dizzy. Then comes that downward spiral of thoughts where you just start questioning, why can't I get this stuff done? Why do I have to have so little energy? Ugh, I should just push through. And then the feels start happening with guilt and shame, anger, maybe even resentment. If you've ever caught yourself in this cycle over needing rest, then this episode is for you. So grab your favorite drink and let's talk about why it's so important to take a rest, especially for your business. Well, at least, especially for a business that loves you back. Welcome to Chronic Illness CEO, where we're ditching the hustle culture and rewriting the rules of entrepreneurship to work for us, not against us. I'm Jessica Brown, a business strategist who knows firsthand what it's like to grow an online business while managing chronic health challenges. If you're done with cookie cutter advice that keeps you trapped in the cycle of push, crash, and flare, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll explore practical growth strategies for creating sustainable success. So grab your cozy blanket, your favorite warm drink, and let's discover what's possible when we stop fighting against our bodies and start building businesses that truly support our lives. You know that moment when you just need a 5-minute break, or you thought you just needed a 5-minute break, and then it's 2 hours later? You're lying there mentally cataloging all the things you should be doing, the laundry, the work emails, the dog food that needs to be made. And then it starts, that voice in your head that starts saying things like you are lazy, or you're being unproductive, or you're not good enough, or you should just try harder. Well, today we're going to challenge that narrative. As entrepreneurs living with chronic illness, we're not playing the same game as everyone else. So why are we using their rulebook? I'm going to let you in on a secret, not so secret. And that is, if there is one thing that is going to get me fired up and on my soapbox, it is seeing social media posts about rise and grind or hustle harder, especially when I'm sitting there on my couch, wrapped up in a cozy blanket with my mocha frappuccino, and I have my dog, my doodle. His name's Tucker, or sometimes we call him Taco Dog. You're probably going to hear me refer to him both ways. But he's laying himself over me like some type of furry weighted blanket, and he's literally batting away at my phone as I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to build my business and tackle a to-do list when I have the energy of a sloth. Here's the thing. When we have a chronic illness, we're playing a different game, mainly because of our energy levels and the amount of resources we have available. In the chronic illness community, a lot of people talk about spoons. How many spoons do you have? Because I'm a gamer, I tend to think of energy management not as cutlery, but more like a game with energy points. Usually when you're playing one of those mobile games that requires you to spend energy, you start the game at 100%. And then as you do activities, you're spending that energy up until you need to take a break and wait for the energy levels to come back up. But our daily energy is not that way. We could start the day with only 30% energy. And it takes 3 times as long for our energy meter to tick up. On other days, we might have a lot higher energy. But then things like medications, or the effort it takes to complete a task, or maybe what season it is. For example, winter, my energy depletes faster. Those things and other things like receiving good or even bad news can impact our energy more quickly. It's like the game's difficulty level is constantly changing. It's never the same. It is never stable. You're just going to have to, figure it out as you go. And we need a strategy that works with our reality, not against it. Let me share with you what has been a total game changer for me. I tentatively refer to it as the 4 Ps. P as in pizza, peaches, or pie. Now, I know probably I should have a witty and trademarkable name, but listen, I just don't have the mental bandwidth to come up with one. But if you have an idea, feel free to share it. We're just going to keep it simple for the time being. First up is prioritize. This is where our energy management game begins. Instead of just pushing through our day until our energy levels have been expended, we need to be strategic about how we're using our energy and also how we're replenishing it. So last week, I had some ambitious items on my to-do list. I wanted to batch record the podcast episodes that were going to be released first. I needed to make the next batch of Tucker's special food. Yes, my dog has a special diet and tummy issues. We are quite the match. And in addition, my father had already sent me 3 text messages basically saying he needed some technical support. So I knew I was going to have to go over to his house, and I didn't know what I was going to be facing or what type of technical support I was going to need to provide. And with this podcast thing, I had debated, did I want to do a video podcast or just audio only? Because I wasn't sure how much time and energy it was going to take to become video worthy. At the beginning of the week, I mapped it all out. I planned the next day to do the recording, and then morning comes and surprise, bad sleep. A bad sleep night means words are hard. You know those days, right? Now I have to get real with myself. Tucker needs food. That's mission critical. Podcasting requires words. You need to be able to speak clearly, and that wasn't happening. So I pivoted. Spoiler alert, that's a sneak peek into the third P. I decided to make that day a prep day. I took care of Tucker's food. I got it all done. He's good to go for the next month. Then I worked on assembling my notes for each of the podcasts in a way that was going to be easier for me to record. I decided that week was going to be a prep and test my podcast equipment. I was going to get everything in place so then following week I could do the recording without anything else on my list. Sometimes the most strategic move is to set your future self up for success. And this is what I mean when I say we have to be really honest about our actual energy levels and we need to create flexible plans. We need to look at activities and be honest about whether or not they're going to give us energy or if they're going to take energy. Then we got to block out those activities accordingly and check in throughout the day to make sure we can continue on track, or do we need to make modifications? What is your most mission critical? What can move or change? What do we need to actually build up our energy, not just take it? The key thing here is, and it took me way too long to figure this out, but last year I was forced into it. And being forced into it, I learned this lesson. And that is, rest just isn't what we do when we run out of energy. It needs to be right up there at the top of our priority list, right next to feed Tucker priority. And that brings us to our second P, pace. This is where we min-max our energy management. And by that I mean, we're going to do the minimum amount of effort for the maximum impact. And you're going to hear me say that a lot. Min-max, min-max. That's what it means. Minimum effort for maximum impact. Let me paint you a picture. You wake up in the morning, you had a fantastic sleep. You feel great. You can take on the world. You've got your coffee, tea, drink, whatever. In my case, it's a mocha frappuccino, and we're ready to tackle the to-do list. And you're like, I can do all of the things. And you walk into your closet that has literally been a disaster zone for way too long. And you decide today is the day you are going to reorganize and clean up this entire closet. You are going to make it Pinterest worthy. It's an hour or two later. You've dragged out your stepladder into the closet. You're going up and down, trying to sort through the boxes. But now you're suddenly laying on the floor, looking up, sprawled out, wondering, how did I get here? And then you're like, how come I have no more energy? Your closet looks like a tornado hit it. Your bedroom is now a hot mess. And your dog is sitting there next to you, just giving you that look. You know, the one that communicates, seriously, mom, did you just do it again? And you know, at this moment, your body has told you, that's enough. That's it. You have inadvertently used up all of your energy points. Somehow the stepladder ate all of your spoons. Having energy is great, but managing your health in a way that avoids those impromptu closet naps and or flare-ups is even better. And that's where pacing comes in. It's about keeping it slow and steady. It's acknowledging that something like a closet reorganization is much larger than a one-day project and probably a one-person project. Instead of eating the entire pie, let's take it a slice at a time. How would that look for this closet project? Well, it's creating things that you can do in intervals. Interval number 1 might be bringing a chair into the closet and sitting on it while you're doing an inventory to see what all is in there and maybe the things that you don't know are in there. Interval 2 might be setting up the staging area where you're getting all your boxes of donations and to throw away and to keep all organized. Interval 3 might be asking for help. I know it's a revolutionary concept, but getting someone that could bring down 1 or 2 of those boxes or some of what's in that closet in a batch over to your staging area for you. Interval 4 is tackling that batch, 1 box at a time. And yes, this includes building in buffer times between the intervals because our bodies love to throw us surprise parties. Look, I know that sometimes these buffer breaks might feel like we're stranded in long-term parking, but that's our reality. And instead of having our bedroom and our closet and potentially other areas of our house looking like a hot mess, which is only going to stress us out more, planning a project with intervals in mind, knowing that there are going to be breaks between those intervals, allows you to not only pace yourself, but also pace your expectations. Sustainable progress isn't about how fast you can go. It's about maintaining that forward momentum, even if it's at the pace of a sloth. Remember earlier when I had mentioned pivoting from a podcast recording day to a prep day? Well, that brings us to our third P, pivot. This is my fancy way of saying have a backup plan to your backup plan. Because let's be real, even our best laid plans can get derailed, whether it is a flare-up or something else when your body or your mental health says absolutely not to the original plan. That's when we pivot. Maybe we shift to writing the show notes instead of the recording session. Or maybe we move from recording in front of the computer to recording on the couch. Both of those options are valid. One of the things I think is going to be the biggest game changer for me this year is completely ditching traditional deadlines altogether. Instead, I'm choosing to work with target dates, which is a date where you would like to have something done versus you must have this done at this time. Now, the main reason I'm doing this is ultimately because of my planner. Because there's nothing I hate more than having to scratch out of my planner something I was going to do, and then I have to wind up moving it to another time. It drives me nuts. It makes me stop using the dang planner. This year, I decided I'm not going to do this anymore. I want to be able to use my planner all year round. How do I do this? I'm not just going to give any deadlines. No. Let's just shoot for something. What's our objective and when do we want to try to hit it by? And instead of locking that in stone, we're just going to work as we pace towards it. Here's the thing. We're trying to reach a destination. We're on a journey to that end goal, and that doesn't require us to just stick to one path. Nor does it require us to stick to just one timeline. We can be as fluid and flexible as we need to be. And that can include changing the best route to get us there, or pivoting, or giving ourselves flexibility with the timing in which we get there, which is pacing. Think of it like your GPS. When there's a roadblock, your GPS doesn't say, oh, you're stuck, you can't go anywhere. Well, most of the time it doesn't tell you that. Instead, it's going to try to reroute you. And pivoting is us rerouting real time. Last but not least is the final P, the fourth P, which I think is actually the hardest P and also the most important, because isn't that how that works? It's about making peace with the fact that your business journey might look different from what you see everyone else tout about on Instagram or TikTok. Your success might be built from bed. Some days it might be at a different pace. It might look like a fraction of what some guru does. And that's okay. Finding peace is about accepting, or dare I say, embracing that your story is unique to you. And there's a reason that God placed you right here in this place at this time, in this body, with your gifts and this desire to serve. And yes, with this amount of energy. We may never know why, but it was done on purpose. You, just as you are, you have purpose. Part of living that purpose is having peace with the journey and trusting that God's got you covered. This is one of my biggest struggles. It is something that I've agonized with for nearly 40 years. I never thought I was good enough. I never thought my work would help enough. I never thought I was funny enough or charismatic enough for people to want to hang out with me. I never thought I could give enough so a friend would want to stick with me through thick and thin. Yes, I even felt at times that I wasn't worthy enough of my husband's love because I couldn't be the type of wife I thought I was supposed to be. I lacked belief in myself, in part because I didn't believe that God made me, yes, me, on purpose for this purpose. For you. This has got to be my biggest lesson and probably greatest flex that I had in 2024. And it was finally choosing to believe and in doing so embracing peace. And that's why I'm here starting this podcast, recording this episode, eventually posting it and then sharing it with the world. I wouldn't have been able to do this if I hadn't started practicing those 4 Ps. Because I didn't. For 10 years, I was literally trapped in the start-stop cycle, wanting to have a podcast but questioning my worthiness to do so, making big plans that overwhelmed me, trying to push beyond my point of exhaustion, making some progress but not enough for sustainable success, burning out, flaring up, feeling like a failure, brushing it off and doing it over and over and over again. But not this year. No, not anymore. No, I'm doing it differently, and I want to invite you to do the same. If you want to do this year differently too, then it starts with one small piece of homework for you to do. Just a tiny step towards building your own sustainable success. Pick one day, just one, and simply observe your energy. No judgment, no changes yet, just awareness. Notice how much energy you start the day with. Notice what activities deplete you the fastest versus the slowest. When do you feel that natural need for rest? Are there any types of activities that actually give you energy? This data is going to help inform the roadmap for your building and optimizing your business so that it is working for you, not against you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you're loving this episode and want to help more entrepreneurs with chronic illness discover that they don't have to sacrifice their health to build a successful business, and it would also be a huge help for this new show, I've got 3 quick ways you can help. First, hit that subscribe button. It makes sure that you don't miss any upcoming episodes and lets this platform know that our content is worth sharing. Second, if you're feeling extra generous, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Those ratings and reviews aren't just nice to read, although they totally make my day. They actually help push this podcast up in the algorithm so other entrepreneurs with chronic illness can find our cozy little community. And finally, if you know another business owner who's tired of the push, crash, flare cycle, share this episode with them because, friend, everyone deserves to know that there's a better way to build a business that truly supports their life. Until the next time, I'm wishing you a gentle day.